and welcome to The Rational Live. My name is David Dole. It is February 26th, 2021. How's it going? I woke up today with a lot of stress, anxiety. I'm definitely a little burned out, but I somehow worked through it. I don't suggest that, but I felt burned out and I just worked harder, and apparently I'm okay right now. So, really weird. But with that said, a lot to get to today. Let me give you a little preview of the stories. But before I even do that, of course, I got to rep Patreon here. RationalNational.com or TheRationalNational.com/join. That's the Patreon page. The link's also below the video in the description box. Help support the show and keep me going, because you know what? YouTube right now, across the board, all independent media, if you check out views on the Young Turks, on Secular Talk, on whoever, everybody is down. I'm not sure if this is just the nature of the work, because right now it's after an election, inauguration. People are I think, generally a little less in tune to what is going on right now. But also the YouTube algorithm and how it continually props up the what they call authoritative sources, or the corporate sources. So, you know, the Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, whoever has a video channel on here that is a corporate friendly source, they're propped up. Meanwhile, independent media is at the bottom of the algorithm. So our videos rarely ever show up in suggested videos when it comes to people, you know, watching this stuff. When you go to search for topics when it comes to news, politics, we will rarely ever pop up first unless you're already subscribed to us. So it is vital that you support channels like mine, and also the bare minimum just being subscribe and hit the bell icon. So you're told when a video goes up, you will know. And also, of course, hit the like button. Also helps with the algorithm. But we are constantly fighting this battle. It is just... I wish there was more competition in this space. Google needs to be broken up. YouTube can't be the only... I mean, I know there's Twitch, but that's mostly a live streaming platform. And Facebook is not really the same as YouTube. So there really needs to be more competition in this space. But unfortunately, this is what we got. So in lieu of anything else, any other competitor that can actually compete with YouTube, we're stuck with this crappy algorithm. All right. So, of course, support the show. Also, support through Super Chat. I'll answer Super Chats throughout the show. And let me give you a little preview of what to expect today. So, there's a couple of stories that I think already you know I'm likely to touch on. But before I even get to that, CPAC is this weekend. That's the Conservative Political Action Conference. I'm going to show you some clips of that in a second. It is just getting started. There's already insanity happening. Just the typical stuff you expect from conservatives, but I always find it amusing, so we'll go over some of those clips. Also, Biden and Harris are refusing to pass the $15 minimum wage. VP Harris has the ability to get this done. I'll get into that story later so you understand it better, but yeah, of course, people need a raise, and they're still not willing to support that, or willing to fight to support that. Also, Canada. Yes, Trudeau's Liberals vote against their own campaign promise. I will get to what that is. And also, Biden strikes Syria. Of course, going to get to that story. And a lot of reaction to that as well. And those are the main points. I may touch on some other... As always, as I discuss every week, there's a bunch of stories on the cutting room floor I just couldn't, flesh out in time. But I may touch on some of those later just to give you a little window into what I may have also covered. Also, my Tweets of the Week segment, I got one tweet, so I'll share that later. But it's not really a segment. I just, again, too much going on today, so I couldn't get to it. But I will share that one tweet that I saved. All right. Shall I get started? What do you guys say? CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference, is going on this weekend, and from the get-go, it's already ridiculous. So I have several clips here to show you. let's just get into it. This stuff to me is, yes, it's funny. It's always funny. But it's just crazy to me that people can watch this crap and be like, yeah, this person represents my views. So let's start here with this. Here are the CPAC hosts getting booed because they're asking people to wear a mask.
And I know this might sound like a little bit of a downer, but we also believe in property rights, and this is a private hotel. And we believe in the rule of law, so we need to comply with the laws of this county that we're in. But a private hotel, just like your house, gets to set its own rules. Carly, our CPAC director.
Well, as Dan mentioned, we are in a private facility, and we do want to be respectful of the ordinances that they have as their private property. So please, everyone, when you're in the ballroom, when you're seated, you should still be wearing a mask. So if everybody can go ahead, work on that. I know, it's not the most fun.
You have the right.
All right. I mean, what do you say to that? Of course they're going to boo wearing a mask indoors. Look, it's one thing if they were outside and, I don't know, spaced out, or if the vaccinations had hit a point yet where you could be confident in grouping with people, but none of those things are going on. So wearing a mask is kind of the bare minimum when you're indoors around a lot of people. And still, doesn't matter what happens. Doesn't matter that the president, that Donald Trump had COVID. Doesn't matter that people in their families, friends have died or had COVID and had serious illness. None of this matters, apparently. Wearing a mask is a bridge too far for these people. Next clip here. This is Right Side Broadcasting having to jump in to basically put a disclaimer out saying that we don't agree with everything being shown here.
States, 42,000 votes, 45,000 votes, something like that, and we would have had an electoral college vote of 269 to 269.
There's a lot of sensitive topics that are being talked about right now. We want everyone to do your own research in regards to what they're talking about in this discussion right now, anything with election or anything like that. So it's important to do your own research. I know there's several outlets here that are able to completely broadcast all of this content for you with any disclaimer at all, but unfortunately here at Right Side Broadcasting, we must jump in here and put a small disclosure that we want you to do your own research, and it's very important that we do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly, although we are broadcasting these speakers, we want to provide you with that. It does not mean that we necessarily believe or support all of their beliefs of every single speaker talking today, so make sure that you research everything. You talk to your healthcare physicians, whether it's regarding COVID or medical information, and if it's election related, just look it up. Look everything up, and we are just not endorsing any speakers for the event. Again, we are simply broadcasting these speakers.
Absolutely. So we hope you're enjoying all of our speakers we have on stage today and all this content. And we just want to remind you, we're just doing this out of pure safety in regards to being canceled on the tech side at all. So we'll send you back into the arena, but we just wanted to let you know, do your own research.
Thank you.
How many times there did they repeat, do your own research? I think what this is about, I think they're afraid of a potential lawsuit. As we've seen with a lot of the BS pushed from Newsmax and Fox News over the Dominion voting machines, they got sued over that. So this Right Side Broadcasting here doesn't want to be in a situation where they're also being sued for airing a lot of these conspiracies uncritically. So they jump in here to mention how, do your own research, we don't agree with the stuff, just to cover their bases. Next up here, this is amazing. I'm just going to play this and I'll comment afterwards.
And where are we safe? So is there a safe place for conservatives? Well, my first guest that is going to come out and talk to you guys is a man that said several years ago, we got to find a safe place for conservatives because they saw it coming. You could see that they wanted to silence us. A founder, a CEO that started something called Clout Hub, where you have a safe place as a conservative, where you will not be banned for what you say. And where...
All right, this is beyond parody. Conservatives endlessly cry about safe spaces on college campuses. Here they are suggesting their own safe space. Man. Of course, hypocrisy appears to never have any effect on these people. Let's go to the next clip. This is just Ted Cruz being weird.
Bernie is wearing mittens. And AOC is telling us she was murdered. Bernie.
All right, that was just weird. Ted Cruz, of course, one of the weirdest people in politics. This is also a way just for me to bring up this story. Ted Cruz may have bought his own book using campaign funds. And if so, then that's going to be a problem. So there's a big piece in Salon about this. You can check out their story on this if you want more information. But I wouldn't put it past him, of course, to buy his own book in bulk with campaign funds. Next clip. Here is Tom Cotton lying to his audience about why they have to hold CPAC in Florida.
Cases are plummeting and vaccination rates are surging. We are still banned from getting anywhere near our nation's capital. Now contrast that with what happened last summer with the BLM protests there. Thousands of people in the streets as cases were surging. Did Democratic politicians try to lock that down? No, they went out and marched with them. Now, maybe if CPAC had promised to burn down buildings and tear down statues, they would have let us up there.
Yeah, notice how he talks about protests in the streets and CPAC is taking place indoors. So the reason why they're in Florida is because this is a place where they're actually allowed to hold this event indoors. They're not allowed to hold this indoor event in the states that he's talking about. So again, just acting like, oh, we're not being let up there to do this show. Meanwhile, Democrats were protesting out in the streets with BLM protesters. Yeah, they were outside in the streets wearing masks. You guys are indoors not wearing masks. That's the problem. Last one here. Here's Marsha Blackburn discussing their dear leader.
I've been through it too, but nobody has been hit by this like President Donald Trump. First, they decided they were going to fact check him, the leader of the free world.
So here, Marsha Blackburn is whining about social media fact-checking Donald Trump. The leader of the free world. Yeah, if you lie, you get fact-checked. But these people, their dear leader, how dare you fact-check our dear leader, our supreme leader. He's always right about everything. And yes, Donald Trump is still their dear leader, even though he's no longer in power. I'm curious how long that's going to last, but I think it's going to last quite a while. So that's the state of the Republican Party right now at CPAC. All right. Time to dive into something a little more substantive in a minute here. With Biden and Harris, or I should say the White House refusing to push for $15 an hour. Before I do that, I think I heard a super chat or two. Let me check. Several here. All right. Mike, thank you for becoming a member. MYKE. Thank you. Timothy Kogar Jr., thank you for becoming a member. Car Wash Freak 97. Did you hear Biden bomb Syria? Yes, I mentioned at the beginning of the stream that I will be talking about it later in the stream. So wait for that story. Adam Bryson, cut off your chat if you have one. Let me just scroll through here. Adam Bryson says, do you think Alex Morris and Jessica Cisneros will run again? Also, do you think AOC should run in 2024 because we need someone way to the left of Harris? Do I think Alex Morris and Jessica Cisneros? I think they both will. Yes. And they should, because they were both really close. I forget how close Alex Morris got, but I know Cisneros was fairly close. Their name recognition is growing in those areas, districts, because of that. So absolutely run again. They're solid candidates. Also, do you think AOC should run in 2024 because we need some? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not against her running in 2024, but she is really young. I don't care about that, but I think the general population does. People, older voters that are voters that you can rely on to come out, they do care about that stuff. I have nothing against her running to primary. I assume Harris in 2024. I can't see Biden running a second term. But I think there are potentially better options. Nina Turner, for me, comes to mind, especially if she can win her congressional seat in a few months. So we will see. But I'm not against it. At the same time, there may be better options. Sam O says, are you going to make a collection of videos at CPAC? Are you going to make a collection of videos at CPAC? I just did. So there you go. All right. And unless you want me to follow it more over the weekend, we will see. As you just saw, there really isn't much to talk about when it comes to CPAC. It's a lot of insanity. So it's more just like play a clip, laugh about it, play a clip, laugh about it. Because you're not changing any minds. At least I'm not changing any minds showing these clips. You either agree with what they're saying and you need help, or you can see through the insanity. One more comment here. Radzoso says the Senate vote on Marcia Fudge for HUD Secretary was pushed back. So Nina Turner's May 4th primary will also be pushed back. Interesting. All right. We will keep an eye on that. Thank you for the update. All right. I'm going to prep the next story on the minimum wage. So I will be right back. There are several links here. It may take me a minute or two. So go grab a drink, go to the washroom. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. What up? Ready to discuss the minimum wage, which, of course, it's insane that it hasn't been raised in, I believe, 12 years? Something crazy. So let me get to this. This story is just nuts. The Senate parliamentarian has decided that a $15 minimum wage violates the Byrd Rule. Now, if you don't understand what any of that means, it doesn't matter because it's all bullshit anyways. But this is what the White House is using as their excuse for why wages can't be raised. So before I get to it, let me show you a video here of Democratic Representative Pramila Jayapal on MSNBC discussing why the excuse of the parliamentarian is BS.
I did want to make a clarification, though. The parliamentarian issues an advisory opinion. Once the parliamentarian issues that advisory opinion, it is up to the chair of the Senate to decide whether or not to incorporate that opinion. It's a small technicality, But I do think that we've got to use every tool in our toolbox here, whether it is reconciliation, whether it is, ultimately reforming the filibuster. We're going to need to deliver on our promise to raise the wage for 27 million Americans.
And do you make that clarification about the parliamentarians' opinion being an advisory matter because you think that Democrats in the Senate should use their 50 votes and potentially the tie-breaking vote of Vice President Harris, I guess, to overrule the parliamentarian if she says, no, this can't be in reconciliation? Do you think they should go that far?
I personally do. And I'll tell you, it's because Democrats made a promise to people across this country that we were going to raise the minimum wage, that we were going to put money in people's pockets. It's been 12 years since we've raised the minimum wage. And if we're going to make those promises, we have to be able to deliver on them. Because I'll tell you what, in 2 years, Rachel, when people vote in the midterms, you're not going to be able to say, well, I'm sorry, we couldn't raise the minimum wage because the parliamentarian ruled that we couldn't do it. That's not going to fly. So whether it's overruling the parliamentarian or whether it is reforming the filibuster so we can actually pass a minimum wage bill, I think it is important that we use every tool in the toolbox. One thing, though, the House is going to pass this reconciliation bill with a $15 minimum wage raise in it. So we want to be very clear. The House is going to do our job. Now the Senate needs to do its job.
So VP Kamala Harris has the power to overrule the parliamentarian. Yet, right now, the White House is saying that they will not do that. That $15 minimum wage will not be in the COVID relief bill because of the parliamentarian's decision, even though VP Harris, who said she supported a $15 minimum wage along with Joe Biden, even though they claim to support it, they are unwilling to take the steps necessary to actually pass it. Blaming procedure, even though part of the procedure is the ability to overrule the parliamentarian. Now, this will, as Jayapal mentioned, will absolutely hurt Democrats. If they don't deliver on their campaign promises that the vast majority of Americans support, it will destroy them in 2 years and in 4 years. And to give you a window into that, Elliot Morris here tweets out 66% of Americans in a new The Economist YouGov poll said they support Biden's economic COVID-19 relief plan. 25% said they oppose it. According to this data, this makes Biden's bill the most popular key legislative executive action since the minimum wage hike of 2007. And to go further here, the poll also finds that the proposed $15 minimum wage is 18 points net popular, making it more popular than everything Trump did in office and the most popular key legislative actions since Dodd-Frank a decade ago. This, if they don't pass this with this kind of popularity, how does this not hurt them? There clearly is no excuse here to not support putting the $15 minimum wage in the COVID relief bill. There is no excuse whatsoever, and it will destroy them if they don't push to pass this. Now, the White House, of course, as I said, pretending that this is out of their control. But Warren Gunnels here tweeting out, CBO to Budget Chair Bernie Sanders, raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour would have a much bigger impact on the federal budget than oil drilling in the Arctic and the repeal of individual mandate penalties. Both of those provisions were deemed permissible under reconciliation. So, perfectly okay, apparently, to include oil drilling in the Arctic and repealing the individual mandate. Perfectly fine. But when it comes to raising wages, no. Apparently, you can't put that through reconciliation. Absolutely ridiculous. Now, another point here. Did you hear once, ever, about the Byrd rule or the parliamentarian over Trump's 4 years? Did Mitch McConnell ever go, well, we were gonna pass tax cuts for the rich, but parliamentarian, the Byrd rule, I'm sorry, we can't help the wealthiest, can't help massive corporations. We got to listen to process. Are you kidding me? Republicans fight tooth and nail for their interests. Democrats give in because they share much of the same interests that Republicans do, while pretending that they don't. Democratic leadership pretends to represent the working class. In reality, they work against the working class every step of the way. You only have, rare examples like Bernie, an independent, but still Bernie Sanders caucusing with Democrats, actually standing up for the working class. Pramila Jayapal supporting this. Ilhan Omar, AOC, again, they want to see wages raised. But when it comes to Democratic leadership, House leadership, Senate leadership, the White House, they do not stand with the working class. They will give in every freaking time and use process as an excuse. Now, let me get to some more reactions here. People for Bernie tweets out, "You have the power to overrule the parliamentarian," quote tweeting Kamala Harris from 2016, where she said, "It's abysmal that the federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. You can't live off that. It's time for a $15 minimum wage." This is in 2016. We're still fighting for the same battle. I mean, in reality, this should be much higher than $15. And even in the $15 proposal, it wouldn't be raised to that until 2025. It would take, it's a 4-year process. So it isn't happening immediately. And still, they will not fight for it. Zephyr Teach out here tweeting, quote, "My hands were tied by the Senate parliamentarian is an insult to people who are choosing between housing and food." Yep. Roots Action here tweeting out, "The parliamentarian has no official power. The vice president, as president of the Senate, decides whether to overrule the parliamentarian. This is entirely on Kamala Harris. She can override the parliamentarian. There would not be 60 votes to overrule." And they quote here the New Republic. Kyle Klinsky here tweeting out, "It's Biden-Kamala folding on the minimum wage, along with Manchin and potentially a few others. Every Dem who supports it must declare war on them and make them pay a political price. If they don't, they're just doing empty virtue signaling. Time to prove which side you're on." Absolutely. They can't just... Anybody like Bernie Sanders or Jayapal or AOC or whoever, anybody actually in support of raising wages, they can't just give in and say, oh, well, they decided, can't do anything about it. No. They have to actually make these people pay a political price, which includes primarying them in 2022 and 2024. Primary out these individuals who continue to hide behind process while pretending that they're working in the interests of people when actually they're working in the interests of the wealthy and corporate America. Last thing here, if you want more of a breakdown on this, Daily Poster has a great breakdown. This is David Sirota's outlet. Secret memo shows how Harris must now advance minimum wage hike. So Daily Poster, check it out. I'll link to it below the video when I clip this video out of the live stream. So it's just, there is absolutely no excuse here. And honestly, anyone paying attention shouldn't be surprised, of course, that Biden and Harris are reneging on this. But that doesn't mean you don't fight. That doesn't mean that you don't expose them. So clearly here, just another example of how Joe Biden is being a massive letdown for the working class. All right. By the way, that last thing I said at the end, I said it for a reason. It's really stupid and annoying for people to be like, are you surprised they're doing this? Nobody's saying we're surprised. Nobody's saying we're surprised that they're against this. No one's saying that we're surprised that Biden just had airstrikes on Syria. No one is surprised by these things. That doesn't mean you don't outrage about them. That doesn't mean you don't talk about them. That doesn't mean that you don't put pressure on them. So just, if you're one of those people that comment, oh, are you surprised? That's not what this is about. If you only watch the news for surprises, then this isn't the place. You have to actually discuss these issues. Things shouldn't just make news if they're a surprise to you. They should make news and we should talk about it regardless. But anyways, I just saw a comment, not in here, but on Twitter earlier, and those comments exist everywhere. Just people adding nothing to the conversation whatsoever. That is just a waste of time. All right, next story. I'm going to prep. Let me see if there are any super chats. Looks like there's several. All right. The Sing on the Left says, David, will Ro Khanna primary Alex P? Or do you think KDP should? Either way, Cali needs a progressive senator. We can always replace Feinstein next time. There needs to be a lot of primarying going on. Whether I think they will or not, it would just be a shot in the dark. I have no idea. But when you have power, when you have control of the White House, the Senate, and the House, and you're still not passing something as basic as a $15 minimum wage over 4 years, if you still can't pass that, you have to actually electorally, if that's the realm you're in, you have to use your power against the people that are holding this down. So I hope that we see these sorts of primaries, but remains to be seen if they have the balls to do it. Rhino Wiki says, do you believe the Democrats will kill filibuster and pass H.R. 1 to combat the election changes being done in our states? It seems necessary to win now. Again, it would be a shot in the dark. I hope they do. They should kill the filibuster, but you've already seen several Democrats come out against doing that. So, and those Democrats must be taken out of power through a primary. So until any of that happens, again, just a guess on my part whether or not they would actually push through with any of this. Gina McGrath says, how do you think Biden will deal with rent/mortgages when those moratoriums expire? The crisis isn't Biden's fault. That would be Trump and the GOP, but this can't be delayed forever. I agree with you. I don't know. I mean, part of it would be to raise wages, would be to invest into green infrastructure, would be to invest into infrastructure in general. I mean, and obviously people just need financial help. Would be to actually get people financial. I mean, a one-time check of $2,000. Sure, at this point, I guess it helps, of course, but that would not get anywhere near to actually addressing the issue. Canceling student debt would be another way to actually deal with these issues, because a lot of people that are paying rent, that have mortgages, also have student debt. So that would be a huge weight off of people's back if Biden got rid of that, and he has the power to do that through executive order. Again, unwilling to do it. Even the $10,000 he's unwilling to do, which again we shouldn't even discuss. It's not even worth discussing $10,000. It should all be canceled. But all this stuff is just, it shows you how similar the parties are when they're in power. Are there differences? Of course, especially cultural differences. Alone, the cultural differences are worth Trump being out and Biden being in. But that doesn't mean you just ignore all of the obvious holes here when it comes to Biden and him not being able to deliver for the people. Samantha Sider, thank you for the thumbs up. Joe Castillo says, Harris went from that little girl was me to that woman was me, who could have dismissed the Senate parliamentarian but didn't. Absolutely. Harris has always been all about, like most politicians, not just Harris, but all about, showmanship, just BS. I'm not sure if there's one thing that Kamala Harris actually believes in. I think she's just, one of the standard politicians that just, they go with the flow. They go where the wind blows them, and the wind that's blowing them is normally corporate interest. So they actually don't have anything to fight for. They're going to stand up and say one thing in front of people, especially during a primary. They're going to pretend they support all these popular issues. But when they're actually in power, you see none of it. And it's because they don't actually have any conviction, don't actually have any principles, don't actually care. And unfortunately, a lot of people right now not paying attention because Trump is out, but it's going to be the same shit in 4 years because they're going to get destroyed if they don't pass anything. Adam says, can a robust UBI such as Social Security for all replace the minimum wage, since $2,000 per month would be equal to about $12 per hour? Can a robust UBI such as Social Security for all replace them? I think that's a worthy discussion. Replace the minimum wage? No, I wouldn't say it would replace the minimum wage. I would say in addition to, but not. This is actually, you bring up one of the issues with universal basic income, is that it is used oftentimes by libertarians as a way to dismantle the welfare state. So no, anything with a UBI should be additive on top of whatever people already have and are getting, because what people have right now isn't enough. So bringing in a UBI isn't going to solve, it's not a panacea. It's not going to solve all the problems. It's going to help. But if you if you bring it in and then start taking away like the minimum wage or the welfare state, then you completely defeat the purpose. So no, definitely not a replacement for the minimum wage. All right, pause there as I jump to prep the next story. You'll see what it is. This may take me a minute or two, again, maybe a minute. We will see. But I will be right back. All right, and I'm back. Next up, Canada. Always got to get my Canadian content in at least once a week, and this is actually a pretty big story. So definitely was going to cover this. A lot of dishonesty online around this story as well, so hopefully we clear some of this up. Let's get to it. While Canada has a single-payer universal health care, it doesn't cover everything. And one of those things is prescription medication. So we don't have universal health care in Canada. And this is after, I believe, since 1997, the Liberals have promised universal pharmacare. Trudeau's Liberals also promised universal pharmacare, yet they just voted down an NDP proposal to do it. So let me break down this story. And there's a lot of dishonesty here, especially or only from Liberals on this issue about why the NDP, in their mind, why their proposal was not possible. It's all BS. I'll break it down here. First, from HuffPost, Bill C-213, the Canada Pharmacare Act, tabled by veteran BC MP Peter Julian, was defeated Wednesday at a second reading by a vote of 295 to 32, with the Conservatives, Bloc Québécois, and the vast majority of Liberals voting against the proposed legislation. The bill won support from two Liberal MPs, Toronto's Nathan Erskine-Smith and New Brunswick's Wayne Long, as well as Ontario Tory MP Ben Lobb. 3 Green MPs and 2 independents, including Jody Wilson-Raybould, also voted in favor of the bill. Just a little shout out here. Occasionally, there are some good Liberals. Smith is basically, a member of the NDP. I want to say that, but he's somebody who is consistently very progressive on these issues. I'm not really sure why he's even a Liberal MP, but you see here how it broke down. Liberals voting against universal pharmacare, even though they promised once again to do it. Now, let me show you some of their excuses as to why. Andy Fillmore here, who's a Liberal MP, says, how much did the NDP pharmacare bill commit to spend on pharmacare? Answer, an egg. I guess he means zero. That should tell you what you need to know about their efforts to mislead. Now, speaking of misleading, this is incredibly misleading as private member bills can't commit to spending funds. Of course, Andy's not going to tell you that. This bill was just the first step in the process. NDP MP Matthew Green tweeted out in response to Andy saying, looks like either Andy didn't read the bill or he's acting terribly in bad faith here, knowing that this bill was the first step as per their own Liberal pharmacare report by former Liberal Minister of Health, Dr. Hoskins. So which one is it, Andy? Your constituents aren't stupid. But Andy apparently is treating his constituents as morons, as he himself, back in 2019, October, tweeted out, a re-elected Liberal government will implement national universal pharmacare so that all Canadians have the drug coverage they need at an affordable price. Hashtag Halifax. Once again, Liberal lies. Moving on. Here's another argument that was brought up here. The reason the NDP put forward the pharmacare bill they did today is for political gain, not because the proposed act is workable. Pharmacare cannot be imposed on provinces. It must be developed in conjunction with them because Constitution. But they know that. Hashtag Canadian Poly. More BS here. That actually is not true. This is wholly inaccurate. As James Hutt here, of Leap.org, tweets out, this is wholly inaccurate and misleading. Healthcare is both provincial and federal. This is literally how Medicare works. The bill is modeled on the same principle as the Canada Health Act, which offers funding to provinces to implement a program. Let's go even deeper into that BS. Kiana here, who is the co-chair of Canada's Young New Democrats, tweets out, anyone who thinks the federal government can't legislate pharmacare similarly to the Canada Health Act is welcome to DM me and I'll send them my first-year constitutional law notes. The provincial jurisdiction argument is an inaccurate, cowardly excuse that limits access to life-saving meds. She goes on here to say, more directly, Fed spending power is in the Constitution. The Canada Health Act is federal. It's basically transferring money to provinces with strings attached. The power to provide services or to turn down the money is still provincial. Would be the same for pharma. So all of the excuses here that Liberals are throwing out as to why they cannot support the NDP proposal is just complete BS. Now, the question arises, why then didn't Liberals support this? If they apparently support universal pharmacare, nothing wrong with the NDP proposal here, why didn't they support it? Well, lobbying at least plays a piece of this. So, of course, lobbying a huge issue in Canadian politics. Since the launch of the Liberal government's Advisory Council for the Implementation of National Pharmacare in February 2018, pharmaceutical and insurance industries have ramped up their efforts to maintain the status quo, as revealed in a 2019 report by the Canadian Federation of Nurses Unions. They have exerted influence through lobbying and advertising, enlisting industry-linked think tanks to spread their message and pouring millions of dollars into cash-strapped patient advocacy groups to sway their positions. A search of the lobby registry by the Council of Canadians revealed that just in the last year, federal officials had at least 443 contacts from representatives of the pharmaceutical industry, private insurers, and pharma-funded patient advocacy groups. In the same period, CFNU, one of the strongest voices for pharmacare, had only 17 such contacts. So, the lobbying here, 443 to 17, clearly plays a piece. But also, just generally, Liberals lie. They have promised pharmacare since 1997. 1997. Where is it? How often do Liberals need to be in power to deliver on this promise? Once again, just a complete BS lie. A broken campaign promise from Trudeau's Liberals. All right. There you go. Another one of the stories where you could reply, well, what did you expect? But as I said earlier, not an excuse for lying to people. You got to break down these stories, showcase the BS when it happens. All right. Let me read some chats here, and then we'll get to Syria and Joe Biden. A lot of liberal BS this week, that's for sure. Where was I? Kurt says, name of the artist/song you play during breaks. It's from YouTube. It's a copyright-free song. I have no idea. It's in my file somewhere. People ask me this question, and I never have the answer. Let me see if I can quickly find where I saved it, though I cannot guarantee I can find it. Where would I have put this? Nope, not there. Audio. Nope, not there. Sound effects. Nope, not there. I have no idea where I put this audio file. I guess there's a way I could look through my streaming platform and see if I can find it that way. But I feel like this makes for bad radio right now. So I can't find it right now. Sorry. How about this? If somebody brings it up later, I will look into it. If you guys like that song that much, but it's somewhere through YouTube's. YouTube has a copyright, let me see if I can find the music page, like a copyright free library, their music library. And if you look through there, just look through YouTube audio library. If you look that up, you'll find it. Or you'll find the page where I found it. But at that point, you have to actually find the name of the song, and that may take me some time. But if you can remind me later when we're chatting, Q&A, then I will take more time to look into it. After Fractures says, I'm a diabetic and I spend as much money on healthcare I spend more money on healthcare than I do on food. I doubt people who are less fortunate than me can afford to keep themselves healthy, and that is heartbreaking. Yeah, absolutely. Like you expect, a universal system, which is what Canada's supposed to have, to cover pharmaceuticals. And from my understanding, I believe we're the only universal system to not actually cover pharmacare, and it's heartbreaking. This thing on the left, let me find your chat, says, isn't there an election in Canada? Vote them out. Yes, but easier said than done. Easier said than done. Even though we have a multi-party system here, a parliamentary system, Canadians, when it comes to federal elections, still tend to go between conservatives and liberals. And it's really hard to break people out of that mold. Even though right now, Jagmeet Singh, as a leader, is polling way higher than any other leader in Canada. But that rarely ever translates to actual votes for the party, for whatever reason. So we'll see what happens this time. I feel like, if there's an election once everyone's vaccinated, it's really going to help the Liberals at that point. And a lot of this stuff will get swept under the rug, but we'll see. All right. Let me prep the next story. Syria. How fun. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. What's up? Now we're going to get to Syria. And this is the last big story of the stream, but there's a bunch of small things maybe I'll touch on that I never actually got to completely formulate or flesh out. And then, yeah. And of course, chats all throughout the rest of the stream. All right. I hate this topic. It's the same crap every administration when it comes to foreign policy. Every time. President Joe Biden ordered airstrikes in Syria in a move that is no different than what you'd expect from Donald Trump. So I'm going to break down here what happened, the reactions, and also reactions including what Biden's own White House press secretary said about bombing Syria back when it was Trump doing it. First up here from NBC News, just on the top line. President Joe Biden on Thursday ordered airstrikes on buildings in Syria that the Pentagon said were used by Iranian-backed militias in retaliation for rocket attacks on U.S. targets in neighboring Iraq. The strikes killed at least 22 people, London-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said on Friday, citing unconfirmed local reports. Again, no different than what you'd expect under Donald Trump. The idea that it's in retaliation, why are there troops still in Iraq? Isn't that the story here? But no, they're already, when it comes to any mainstream outlet that is covering this story, they're going to always do it from a pro-U.S. military perspective. Even when it was Donald Trump doing it, you had people on MSNBC saying this is the right move for Donald Trump. So they're going to defend these moves regardless of whoever it is, because the people in charge, the people on television, are from the military-industrial complex, and that is the view that the mainstream press takes on. But clearly, how often do you have to see these sorts of strikes before you realize that this never actually leads to peace? So Common Dreams has a great breakdown here of the reaction to this. A Notre Dame law school professor is among the legal experts who condemned U.S. President Joe Biden's bombing of Syria Thursday as a clear violation of international law. Quote, the United Nations Charter makes absolutely clear that the use of military force on the territory of a foreign sovereign state is lawful only in response to an armed attack on the defending state for which the target state is responsible. Mary Ellen O'Connell, a research professor of international dispute resolution at the school's Kroc Institute for International Peace Studies, told the Associated Press, quote, none of those elements is met in the Syria strike. Now, I'm going to show you. Here you go. 2017, Jen Psaki, this is Biden's White House press secretary. In 2017, she tweeted out, also, what is the legal authority for strikes? Assad is a brutal dictator, but Syria is a sovereign country. Great point. Great point, Jen. Ilhan Omar also quote tweeted this, saying, great question. Everybody, every lawmaker should bring this up. Every journalist, maybe they're answering questions right now about this. Every journalist should be bringing this up to her. Now, of course, her response may be, I speak for the president, whatever. But obviously, anybody looking at this objectively with a clear head understands that you cannot keep doing the same shit every administration and expect a different result. It's absurd to keep acting like this. More reactions here. Rokana. We cannot stand up for congressional authorization before military strikes only when there is a Republican president. The administration should have sought congressional authorization here. We need to work to extricate from the Middle East, not escalate. Absolutely. Why wasn't there congressional authorization for this? Again, what Biden did here, no different than Donald Trump or really any other president before him. Bernie Sanders here tweeting out, I am very concerned by last night's strike by U.S. forces in Syria. The president has the responsibility to keep Americans safe, but for too long, administrations of both parties have interpreted their authorities in an extremely expansive way to continue war. This must end. Hillary Agro here tweeting out, so how many $2,000 checks did those airstrikes cost? Pointing to the insanity here where they are prioritizing airstrikes over getting checks to people, over raising the minimum wage, over guaranteeing health care for all Americans. It's amazing how much money there is for war. Just whatever you want to do when it comes to strikes, bombing, killing people, you have an endless budget. But when it comes to actually helping people, oh no, we can't do that. That's a problem. Siraj Hashemi here tweeting out, this is hilarious. This is Trump airstrike. This is Biden airstrike. You see there, he, him, hashtag BLM, Build Back Better. Yeah, the exact same thing, just under a different name. And Spencer Ackerman here tweeting out, when you want a livable minimum wage, best I can do is bomb Syria. This really shows you the priorities of this administration. I just did a story on how they are not fighting to push for the $15 minimum wage, even though they have the power to. They are not pushing to get that into the COVID relief bill. Meanwhile, here they are wasting resources, spending time on more bombings. All right. How are you all doing? This is part of the reason I woke up today so just tired of all of this. Tired of the news, tired of politics. It's the same shit, just recycled every 4 years. Every 4 years, it's the same shit going on. Now, don't get me wrong. There's always, there's progress happening, progress going on, people being primaried out, but it's so slow. So slow to get anything done, and that includes U.S. and Canada and really the rest of the world. Takes forever to get anything that is worthwhile through. I'm going to be an old man before, people have a living wage. I already am an old man, so yeah, just amazing to me. All right, are there any chats? If not, I'll jump to some of the stories that there's a chat. Junior McGrath says, does Canadian healthcare cover mental, eye, or dental care? The answer is no. I've never had eye care, so I'm pretty sure not. But I know for sure mental care, no. Dental care, no. Eye care, I'm pretty sure not. I've been on Medicaid since the COVID started, and it covers all of that. Well, there you go. I don't have shit. So, dental care is, for me especially, self-employed. I guess, I could pay out of pocket for it, but it's like with anything. When it comes to healthcare, when you have to, if it's preventative, you're very unlikely to want to spend the money unless there is a serious issue. And that's why when it comes to, the need for single payer in America, a big part of the benefit of that is preventative medicine, that people aren't just going to the emergency room once they have stage 4 cancer, but they actually get there early, catch it early, they get regular checkups. That's all part of why there is a major benefit to universal healthcare. But even in Canada's system, major gaps when it comes to our healthcare system, and there are gaps that, by the way, don't exist in other universal systems. So we definitely the only issue with our healthcare system in Canada is that it doesn't go far enough. There's no issue with it being single payer. That isn't the problem. The problem is it doesn't go far enough. And that really is the issue when it comes to any universal system that may have some gaps. The reality is either there's lack of funding, like when it comes to the NHS in the UK, or there's gaps like no pharmacare or dental care in Canada. Those are the only issues when it comes to these universal systems. All right. There's a new one. Austin Prince says, for our diabetic friend, the benefits of a whole food plant-based diet will improve your condition. Might even help you get rid of your diabetes. All right, did someone tweet earlier? Yes, after fractures. There you go. Whole food plant-based diet. I don't know enough of the science, but I can't say I disagree. All of the studies, all of the research I've seen when it comes to a plant-based diet is just purely beneficial. I wish I could get there. I am a pescatarian. I can't imagine myself not eating seafood. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. I'm half Portuguese. Seafood's in my blood. So I'm always going to eat seafood. But that said, if you can introduce more plant-based food into your diet and cut out some of that other stuff, absolutely major benefits. All right, let me grab some of the, or go over some of the content, some of the stories that I did not do today, but are maybe still worth touching on. And like this one. In fact, maybe this is even worth doing it. Maybe I can turn this into a segment. I don't know. Maybe not. You know what? Maybe I'll try. I'm going to try. Watch me do this on the fly. All right. A new poll out shows that there is one politician that polls higher than Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. One politician that polls higher than the president and the vice president. Can you guess who it is? Of course, it's Bernie Sanders. So this is a new poll released Tuesday by The Economist /YouGov that found while 39% of respondents said they had either a somewhat or very unfavorable view of Sanders, 49% said they had a very or somewhat favorable view, giving him a net favorability rating of 10 points. Biden had a net favorability rating of 8 points. Bernie 10, Biden 8. Due to 50% of respondents having a favorable view and another 42 having an unfavorable view of the president. Net favorability for Harris was 5 points, with 48% viewing her favorably and 43% viewing her unfavorably. Bernie Sanders, of course. I mean, this is not new. I've covered these stories so often that you could probably just, they're interchangeable at this point. But every single year, there are certain polls that come out, about the most popular senators. Bernie Sanders always at the top of those lists. During the primary, polled most popular. Now, when it came to people actually voting, unfortunately, people taken in by mainstream media BS and the idea that Biden was more electable, so people settled for Joe Biden, and we all know how that went. But when it comes to how people feel about their senators, how people feel about who actually fights for them in Washington, it's clear Bernie Sanders, even if you don't agree with him on his policy prescriptions, I'm not sure why you wouldn't if you're actually informed on these issues, but even if you don't agree with him, you can recognize that he believes what he's talking about, that he's honest, that he doesn't take corporate money, that he simply is fighting for what he believes and what he believes will actually help people. And this goes a long way to showing you where I think politics is going and already has gone. People want honest politicians, sometimes even regardless of their views, like in the case of Donald Trump. Donald Trump, don't get me wrong, not honest, very dishonest politician, but he is, off the cuff. He is not your typical politician in that sense. And people are tired of the typical politician, the one that says one thing and does another. Now, Donald Trump ended up being that very thing, but the way he presented himself in 2016 was not that. So people fell for his grift in 2016, thinking he was something different, thinking that he was an outsider, never an outsider. But you see popularity of people like Bernie Sanders, and it shows you what, if Democrats want to be successful, that's the direction they need to go towards. And, forget just even taking the politicians out of it. Also, of course, look at what they fight for. Look at the policies. When you actually look at polling based on the policy, Medicare for all, majority favorability, raising wages, majority want that, taxing the wealthy, majority want that, taxing corporations, majority want that. I mean, you go down the list, progressive policy after progressive policy, the majority of people support those policies. But the mainstream press will always push out this idea that, most people are moderates. Most people are somewhere between Democrats and the GOP. But if you actually look at the policies, what is between the two? Because they essentially both work in the interests of the wealthy and corporations. So On actual policy, what is the difference? There really isn't much. When it comes to the cultural issues and how they present themselves, yes, there's an obvious difference there. But when it comes to the economic policies, they're very much in line. So there is no between the two parties. The actual, so-called independents or the outsiders are the people that want progressive policy, the people that are not being listened to. And that's what Bernie Sanders represents. All right. There you go. I made a segment out of nothing. May not be worth posting, but we'll see. But, of course, not surprised to see Bernie Sanders once again at the top of a list like that. All right. Hold up here. Ryan Nowicki says, I suspect AOC will follow through with her threats to primary a bunch of people. Excuse me. Burping, of course. Primary a bunch of people. Given what is going on, do you think Democrats will lose more seats in 2022? Do you mean traditional Democrats, based on your question of AOC primarying, or do you mean in general Democrats? I think, so generally, if they keep going down this path, if the White House keeps going down this path of giving in to conservatives, and I shouldn't say giving in, but just not actually fulfilling their campaign promises, they will be destroyed in 2022. No doubt about it. If there isn't a real transformation, and look, COVID's one thing. There may be a little boost once vaccinations are out and people are rid of that worry. There may be a boost from that, potentially, maybe helping Democrats. But ultimately, if people are just back in the same scenario where they were before COVID, where they still can't afford rent, still can't afford food, living paycheck to paycheck, I don't see how that helps Democrats. So they'll get hurt bad in 2022 if they go down this path. Now, when it comes to AOC supporting primaries, I hope she does a lot more of that. Let's be honest here. I think she supported Jamal Bowman over Elliot Engel, but she did not support Cori Bush over Lacey Clay. Mistake, clearly, on her part. And she needs to get more involved. And, she did support Jessica Cisneros, so that's, one thing. But I hope she gets more involved. She, of course, has a massive platform. It benefits whoever is challenging these Democrats if they have her endorsement. So I do hope she gets more involved. And I do think we are going to see more primaries of Democrats, of corporate Democrats in 2022. All right. Let me, what else did I prep today? Or I did not prep today. Oh, this. I'm not... Oh, this tweet's gone. What? Okay. If I can find it. It was just... It was just Chuck Grassley saying something weird to a question at a town hall. I'm sure this has got to come up. The link I saved disappeared, but if I can find it. Come on now. Nope. Here we go. I got it. Check this out. Actually, I'll go down here.
The Iowa Republican legislature are now wanting to take that back so everyone can have the same crappy wage. So here's my question. Why aren't you supporting the working people of Iowa, and why haven't you done so since 1975? And why aren't you pushing for a living wage for workers, including the 80% that are service economy workers?
When did I quit beating my wife?
You did?
He's asked.
Answer the question.
Now, of course, what he's trying to say here is, the way the question was framed is, why haven't you supported workers your entire career, whatever. So, he's trying to say, hey, the way the question was framed, how can I answer that question? But it just came off, really weird. And of course, the guy asking him, the guy town hall here, the guy at the town hall, completely on point. Great. We need to see a lot more of this. This is if your representative or your senator or whoever is having a town hall like this, attend. Now is this before COVID? Because nobody here is wearing a mask, so this may be an old clip. But in the future, when these town halls happen and they're safe, make sure you go to these, get involved, and push your elected officials in public, in front of a crowd of people. Hammer them. This is how, even if they aren't going to change, at the very least, what you can do is make them feel uncomfortable. And maybe in the process, inform others in the room about who those individuals are. So, great moment here. But this has to be old, considering nobody here is wearing a mask. But the first time I've seen it. All right. What else here? This. I couldn't find the time to make this into a story, but definitely worth covering. Costco to increase its minimum wage to $16 next week. And this was actually announced during a Senate Budget Committee hearing where I believe the CEO of Costco was there and said that they'd be raising wages. Really good. This is one company that actually appears to treat their employees well and has done for some time. And they also have paid vacation. There's other benefits. A lot of people wearing Costco, they make a real living wage, like into the 20s and 30s. So Costco, good on them for actually paying their workers properly. It's a rarity when it comes to large corporations, but they appear to do it. Also, what else? I covered that. Oh, yeah. My tweet of the week. As I said earlier, I was going to prep my usual segment, my monthly or bi-monthly segment, tweets of the week. I got one tweet out, and this it really isn't even that good. It's an okay tweet, but it's kind of what you normally see out there. But here you go. This would have been part of tweets of the week. Benjamin Perry here saying the only bipartisanship left in Congress is a wicked conviction that poor people don't need all of what they're asking for. Absolutely. And this is in reference to Joe Manchin saying here, told me that he would try to amend the COVID relief package with a federal minimum wage hike of $11 an hour. A move he argues will allow the party to get behind a compromise. Why don't we do this? And this has been mentioned before in the past. Redundant. Before. Joe Manchin, sure, why don't you amend the package to say $11 an hour for West Virginia? Just do it for your state. See how that flies. See how your constituents feel about that. Just do $11 an hour for West Virginia. Everyone else can be $15 an hour, but just for your state especially, we will change it to $11 an hour. That's really what, other senators should be coming back with. You got to fight these idiots with fire. You can't just sit back and say, I don't agree with Joe Manchin. No, you go farther. Actually challenge him and say, okay, $11 an hour for West Virginia. Sounds good to me. Of course, the downside of that is the poor people in West Virginia need the raise. So it's not really the best outcome. But at least in terms of Joe Manchin's image, it would be maybe a way to continue spotlighting what a horrible man he is. But I believe that's it. I thought I had more, but I touched on most of my... there's actually a lot this week that I did not even put on my breakdown. Being a one-man band sometimes has its downsides. And that downside is there being too many damn stories that I can't possibly cover everything. I do want to check out... Why don't we look up how vaccinations are doing across the board. believe this is the graph. Let's check this out. Let's see here. So I know Canada's doing horribly. We're not even in the list. Canada's doing just terrible. But you got here Israel up top. Of course, they're not actually vaccinating everybody. Those in the occupied territories, Gaza, West Bank, Palestinians do not get a vaccination. Only Israeli citizens get vaccinations. And in fact, I believe I even saw a story where Israel blocked vaccinations from getting to Gaza. But that's a whole other story. UAE here, didn't realize how well they're doing. UK, also surprised. US, not doing too bad. So just so you guys understand, US is actually doing pretty good right now when it comes to vaccinations compared to other countries. Where are we? Where's Canada? Look how low we are. Look at this. Look at this crap. All the way down here. It's kind of weird to group the entire European Union together. Not sure that really gives a proper indication. But oh, look at this. Look at this. Horrible. Chile, not too bad. Brazil, world, China, Russia. Some of these I'm actually surprised by. China's that low? All right. But yeah, I hope by it appears that by September, a lot of people, obviously a lot of countries here not on the list, but in terms of this audience, in terms of the West, largely should be vaccinated by the fall. But then, of course, a lot of poorer countries being left out. And when it comes to traveling, who knows what happens in that scenario? So, a lot to watch here when it comes to vaccinations. But at least it's getting there. I don't know what else to say. Still far away from any kind of resolution, but we're getting there. All right. I think I'm good. How about that? How about that, guys? Thank you all for showing up. I may jump on Twitch this weekend because I feel like it's time to get back to some gaming. I want to finish Mario. A lot to do. A lot to do in Mario. So I may jump on there. But that would be on Sunday. So if you follow me on Twitch or you want to follow me on Twitch, link is below the video, twitch.tv/TheRationalNational. Just follow me on there and you'll be notified when I go live. And sometime Sunday night, I likely will jump on there because I'm sure I'll be gaming anyways. All right. Thank you all for showing up and see you all later. And stay safe. Stay safe. Social distance. Wear a mask. Goodbye.